Hello. A question I've been getting more recently, for obvious reasons, is why we're called the Bea Healing Institute. And so if you'll notice, the name of this channel is Bea Healing Institute. That's the name of the nonprofit we started with the goal of improving health outcomes for neglected people in regards to education and training on true holistic healthcare principles. So that's the nonprofit. Now, Bea. Why Bea? So the thought exercise that I've done multiple times just by myself but with other people is this idea of like, well, what is a healthy person? What does that healthy person look like? What does healthy mean? Because healthy is not a checkbox to me. And it's really just something far more complex. So if you've never done that exercise, go ahead and pause this video. Think for a second, like, what do you think a healthy person is? And write it in the comments. I'd love to see what you thought. But this is kind of my conclusion. So health exists on a continuum. So instead of are you healthy, yes or no, on one end of the continuum you have optimized health, fullest potential of health possible, and on the other end you have death and disease, and then there's everything in between. And you or I, presumably, if you're watching this, you're at least on this side of the end of the spectrum. You're not dead, but you're probably not all the way optimized either. What are you doing wasting time on YouTube? So we're somewhere in between, and it's dynamic. We're moving at all times. So every little choice we make moves us one direction or the other. So in reality, you can be an Olympic athlete because you're just this peak athlete. You're 20 years old, whatever, but you're making choices that are actually moving you towards this end of the spectrum, okay? You can be an Olympic athlete growing cancer. You can be an Olympic athlete who's exceedingly great at one thing, but very dysfunctional and self-sabotaging in other areas of your life, which arguably would put you more towards this end of the spectrum. That's more dysfunction. And likewise, you can be someone with terminal, like end-stage cancer, but in that moment, in that phase of your life, moving towards health, okay? Making choices that are healthy, being healthy, okay? So on top of that exercise, I think it's interesting that the root word of health in English is the Anglo-Saxon word, or Old English word, hol, which is the root word we get for holism, holistic health, also holy. So I think it's interesting in the Old English that people that were holy were considered healthy. And that makes sense to me. To me, a holy person is someone who has integrated their physicality, their physical body, with their spirituality, with their mental personality, with their emotional personality, their heart. So you have those integrations, that holism, holy, and then down the road that became the word health. So I think that's really fascinating. So a healthy person's someone who's integrating the aspects of themselves. So why Bea Institute? So Bea is the Latin root. So that's whole. That's Old English. The Latin root for a similar thing, Latin root is Bea, okay? And that simply means blessed or happy or like truly happy or bliss, okay? Now, in the early church years, Rome, Latin was the main language at the time. The casual word for saint involved Bea. This is where someone nowadays you could say is beatified. Also, it's the root word for beautiful. All right, but so the saints were called essentially beatified Bea, and that's in Latin, and then in English, holy people were also considered like health. So that was hall. Anyway, so Bea means bliss, which to me means heaven on earth, or it means blessed, right? That means the same thing to me. Like the definition of blessed, or a definition of blessed, you can say is made holy or consecrated. That's like an obvious one. but you could also say someone who dwells with God. A blessed person lives with God or dwells with God, okay? And so that's blessed. Bliss to me means heaven on earth. So it's that integration of like heaven, paradise, now, in the moment that you're in. I think that's really cool. I think that's what a healthy person, a truly healthy person would look like. And someone moving towards health is someone who's moving towards heaven on earth. Now, how do you move towards heaven on earth, or what would that even look like? So to me, this idea of, well, where is heaven? And in the Bible, Jesus said heaven is within, or the kingdom of heaven is within. Kingdom meaning, or the kingdom of God, that would be where God dwells. Heaven by definition is like where God's dwelling, and so that's within. Jesus also said that the pathway or the gate into the kingdom is narrow. Now, why would a narrow path be hard to enter? And it'd just be hard if you had a lot of stuff, if you were carrying a bunch of things, right? When I was young, I really thought that meant that, just a lot of possessions. But what I think it means, and of course, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not a theologian, but what I think it means is baggage or your ego. So you're taking your experiences with you, this false self or this pride, right? So if it's just you getting through a narrow gate or walking a narrow path, wouldn't be that hard. But if you keep all this stuff with you, it'd be really hard to do. And so to me, what a person who can experience bliss or heaven on earth, what's required is going inward, so inner healing or deeper healing. And that means if you're going to get in there, you have to let go of your baggage, your ego. And that's why a lot of the education I do and the stuff I do therapy-wise with my patients or clients has a lot to do with shedding the ego or the false self or letting go of past experiences. And if you can do that, then you get closer to this end of the spectrum, the optimized self, which to me is heaven on earth or bliss. And Bea essentially means bliss, and I liked the name. And I don't know, what do you think? Good name? Bad name? I'd love to hear. It's not too late. I can still shut it down and start a new one. All right, bye guys.